W228CG Warwick is 93.5 FM WTBQ.
Frank Truatt, WTBQ.
And good morning, Orange County, Northern New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Sullivan County, streamed worldwide. Wow. I don't know if you were here when we got that call from Paris. That was hysterical.
You got a phone call from Paris?
Yeah, this is a really funny story. So a guy calls us up and I can hear a French accent. I'm like, where are you calling from? And he goes, from Paris. And I'm like, how did you find out about WTBQ? And he said he was in a car with a friend from America, and she started talking about the station because she once had a show here. Sarah Kearns traveled with Sarah. She did African safaris. Wow. And he said, I started streaming. I kind of fell in love with your station.
Well, he's probably a NASCAR fan.
Yeah, he must be. So I am here this morning with first our co-host on Thursday, Jim LaPlante.
Good morning, everybody.
And also our NASCAR reporter, Dan Bulger.
Hello, everybody. I'm not the NASCAR reporter, but Jim
not
is.
him. He's control board operator. Then we have back with us again Chris Larsen, Halmar Racing, and also Orange County Speedway, which we've been kind of talking about every single day.
There's all sorts of stuff going on there.
There's so much good things, and we're going to be talking about Nostalgia Night that's coming up because we have the great, and make sure I say your name right. Is it Gary Balough?
Yes, it is.
I did it.
Yeah.
I should actually win.
First time.
Gary, she's not really great at pronouncing names.
Usually they mess that last name up.
I am the worst with names.
That's not her strength.
That's why I keep calling Frank Honey because I can't remember his last name.
Yeah, it's safe that.
So, Gary, you're going to be at the track on Saturday, and you're going to be signing this incredible book called Hot Shoe. Now, what did Hot Shoe come from?
Hot Shoe is a nickname that a lady in Alabama used to score for me for years and years and years. And she came up one their weekend to the races at Nashville and said, you know what, I'm going to name you Hot Shoe. And I looked at her and I said, well, I've been called worse. You know?
Is that because
it just kind of stuck, and everybody starts calling me
Do you think that
Shoe.
she did that because of the way your foot hit the pedal?
Well, I think she did it because I raced hard.
Yeah.
You know, we were always wide open and hard as we could go, and so that was her deal. Like, you're just a hot shoe. You know,
all right. Well, that's better than be called something else.
Oh, yeah. Well, I've been called that.
Let's go back to when you were really... Where did you grow up? Let's start with...
I grew up in Hialeah, Florida, which is a suburb of Miami.
Yeah, I know
and,
Hialeah.
I raced with some pretty...
Now, how old were you when you... How old were you... I know Jeff Gordon, I think it was like 3 or 4 when he got into a little car there.
I run some go-karts and stuff. Not really competition-wise when I was probably 7, 8, 9 years old. My mom would put it in the trunk of the car and we'd go try to run with him with an old Simpson go-kart. It was heavy, but it was just, you know, my brother would take me to the parking lot and I'd run the thing and run it until I run out of gas and put more in it and go again. And so I run some go-karts, but not really like raced them. And then I started hanging around with some of the racers and seeing the racing, what they were doing.
Was your father into racing?
Nobody.
Nobody.
I had one cousin that raced sprint cars. Back then, they were midgets. I never knew him. I've never met him.
So it was in your blood.
But he crashed, and I guess he broke his neck and it killed him.
Oh.
So my dad didn't want me to race at all. He was a policeman.
Oh, okay.
And he hated it. He threw me out of the house when I told him I was going to race. And basically, when you decide you're not going to do that, you come home. I said, well, I guess I'm not coming home. You know, and
when you have a passion for something, nothing can stop you.
Well, yeah, my brother took me to the races when I was about 7 or 8 years old, and that was it. I was done deal, and I'd get on the roof of the house so I could hear them race and see the lights at Medley on Friday nights when I was 8,
that is a
9 years
passion.
old.
That's in your blood.
Oh, yeah, and I could tell by the sound of the cars who was who. You know?
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
You didn't need headsets and scanners.
No, so I mean, it just like, and I grew up around all the old guys. You know, there were some pretty good gangsters in Miami back in them days. So.
Well, listen, we all know how NASCAR got started.
Well,
it was runners, you know.
Yeah.
So similar to what? Now, where did you race when you first started in your real kind of like racetrack racing?
My very first race was at Hialeah Speedway, and I had a lot of help from Buddy Griffin building that first car. He had a '51 Chevrolet Coupe, but he run it in the late models with a V8 in it, and of course we run 6 cylinders in a hobby class. But Buddy would come by and coach me. Just use this spindle, use this spring, build these rear springs, put this spring in it, do that, and help put the cage in it and the seat in it and everything. And it was a hobby car. So the first night I went to the racetrack, I had a pretty good hot rod. And we built a motor. The book will talk about that, where I had H.C. Wilcox build a motor, the short block, and Gil Hearn did the head and put the cam in it, and these were all professional people.
Absolutely.
And with that being said, I mean, I had a really good motor and a really good car. And
how'd you do?
I won.
All right.
So first time
we
I raced, I won.
always like that as the ending.
Gary's a racer.
So that vaccinated me like, oh, this is easy.
Oh, now you got the bug.
Oh, now I got it. I'm doing this for a living, you know.
So how did you get somebody to kind of sponsor you to be able to do racing?
Well, it was hard. I mean, in the beginning, it was just every time I could gather up just to go do it, and I would go cut grass at Hialeah on the weekends on Sunday and pick up trash and underneath the grandstands and help them pick the fence. And because GMRA, Greater Miami Racing Association, owned the racetrack, so it was the drivers and the owners running the facility, and I got in with all of them that way, and I got a lot of help that way. And Bobby Johns. Running in Annapolis and so forth. It was a Firestone tire dealer. I'd go and load the tires out of the trucks and trailers and grab my tires, drama them and size them and hide them in the quarter. And Bobby would, help me with tires, and I'd pay him every week, you know what I mean? Like, I'd go to the racetrack and I could only buy one tire, and he'd say, no, go bring me 4 wheels. We're winning tonight. He'd put 4 tires on. Bobby, I can't pay you. No, I'm not worried about the money, you know. So I had a good relationship that way with him. And
you know what people have to get from listening right now is when you put hard work in and you're passionate about something, the end result.
Yeah, talent doesn't hurt either.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Well, you have to have that.
you got to, in racing, and you got to really want it. I mean, because it's just really a hard sport, and there's a lot of good people out there, and it just doesn't fall into place. And I will tell you now. And I say it in a book, I don't know how many times, is I've never, ever want to race by myself. You know what I mean? I mean, you think about the people.
It is a team sport.
That's an interesting thing.
People don't realize
that. Yeah,
it
that's
really
an
is a
interesting
team
thing.
sport.
He's saying you can't race against yourself. I mean, the energy of wanting to win is a lot less when you have somebody next to you that you want to beat.
I mean, it's like H.C. Wilcox was building motors and had super modifieds and Flingos and Alan Clark, the guys that winning races. And he was the president of GMRA, and he was also associated with Robert Hamke and Jim Draftman with Indianapolis cars and stuff. So, I mean, it was like, try to surround yourself with the right people or get in with the right people. And that was the big thing for me, was to be around all that. And so that's how I won the first night, because of all them people.
Yeah, it takes a village, as they say.
Can we go back to 1981 Charlotte Motor Speedway? You won the Miller High Life 300. You beat a guy by the name of Dale Earnhardt. Is that the highlight of your racing career?
Well, that was a pretty special day, because Dale Earnhardt was an intimidator.
Yep, he sure was.
There's about 4 or 5 people that he struggled to intimidate, and I was one of them. Tim Richmond was one, Jeff Bodine was one, and Ricky Rudd was one. And we had run real good at Daytona, and he mispitted me, and I ended up 4th. Ard run me in the dirt last lap and back straight away, and should have run 3rd, but really should have won it, because we run with him in the front all day and just didn't pit with him. You know, bad call. And so we go to Charlotte, really good with this hot rod. And I get racing with him and Jody and Ridley, and they're kind of like working me over and teaming up to abuse me.
Yeah.
And Mark's 4th and blah, 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 blah. And Ard's right there. And finally I got by him, and Earnhardt got me in the right rear to try over and turn me. He was going to lean on my right rear and turn me. Well, I was button hanging on, you know what I mean? Let go, grab.
White knuckling, yeah.
Yeah, white. I mean, everybody got out of gas because they figured there's going to be debris everywhere. Yeah. Just by luck, I got it straight and saved it. Well, then he drove up alongside of me going in 3. Well, I just carried him off in there until his right side wheels come off the car. So, I mean,
how many people can
you want
say
to run
that?
into me, you want to run into me, and you want to turn me around and try to kill me in the front straight away. When we get down the back straight away and you're outside of me, you're going to hit. And he hit. And I went on and I won it. Well, it wasn't real nice afterwards.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Donnie come over.
Well,
Donnie Allison was
yeah.
real close to me, and I used to ride in the back of his truck to the races.
Alabama game.
Yeah, and him and Bobby taught me a lot. And he came up and grabbed my lips, and I'm sitting in the car, like, let go of me, you know, because he knew I was going to do that.
Right, be quiet.
Yeah. He said, I'm going to tell you right now. He said, you just wrecked a hero.
Yeah.
He had it coming. He said, but I'm going to tell you something. The best thing you can do is keep your mouth shut.
Put your head down and get out of here.
So,
well, listen, Earnhardt always said rubbing is racing.
Yeah.
So
yeah, well, I went up top and, they did an interview and they just wanted to keep beating on me about it. And he said I was the dirtiest son of a bitch he ever raced with.
Oh, my God, that's
I
great.
said
What
to
a
myself, man,
compliment.
you ought to look in the mirror.
That's great. You've actually been compared to a combination between Dale Earnhardt and Richmond,
Right.
your driving style. Do you
Right.
kind of agree with that? Or
I do agree with that because Tim and I were real good friends, and he drove my race cars, and I got him in the Raymond Beetle car. That was a deal that I'd put together with Raymond. We bought MC Anderson stuff, and then Reggie Jackson teamed up with us, and then I felt like that. My attorney told me there was an indictment coming down, and we had old Milwaukee, and I felt like I needed to bail. We needed a race driver. I said, Tim
Raise your
Richmond.
hand, yeah.
I brought Tim in, and then of course Hendricks grabbed him up. And then we were without a driver again, and Rusty was driving for Stewart. And,
Rusty Wallace?
yeah, riding in the back, and Rusty and I are good friends, and I always thought a lot about Rusty. And I told Raymond, Rusty Wallace, he said, you got to be kidding me. I said, oh, I'm not kidding you. Rusty Wallace. So we put Rusty in the car then, and of course he went on and won a championship, so.
What was the year of the first race you won? What year was that?
66, I think.
Wow.
7.
People don't realize how far back
Well,
you go.
I cheated a little bit on my age. I mean, he used to throw me out of the pits when I was 11, 12 years old. I'd slide under the fence and change the right front tire on Pee Wee Griffin's car off
oh
the trailer.
my gosh.
I bet you stuff like that goes on today, too.
They throw me out.
Not with the, are you kidding me, with the regulations they have now?
But they couldn't get rid of me. They'd throw me out. I'd crawl back under. They'd throw me out, and I'd crawl back under. Finally, just said,
Let him go.
let him go. He's going to do it. You know what I mean? So it was a pretty cool deal growing up in Hialeah because we didn't have a lot of racetracks. We had Palmetto Speedway and Hialeah, and they were feud. You couldn't do both. And I would change the number on my hot rod and run Palmetto on Friday night and be Joe Schmo over here and be Gary Balough on Saturday nights. And they knew I wanted to race, and they'd let me do it, so I could win both. And then Palm Beach Speedway would run sometimes on Sunday. We'd go up there. So
What a great history, because when you look back, I mean, I don't know if people today.
I can't wait to read the book.
Yeah, I know.
Oh,
me
it's
too.
pretty
I got
cool.
it first.
I know. I saw that. I know where I rank.
You have to fight me for it. No, but I mean, you look at this and you listen to the story. I don't know if something like that could be recreated in today's atmosphere. What he was able to do in the time period and the people that were involved. I know, when we had Junior Johnson on the show a couple of years ago, and he was telling a story about how in one of his races, his car caught on fire, and he got out and took his shirt off to put the fire out. And he said, because I had to drive my car home.
Drive the car home.
We pulled the cars back then with tow bars and chains. I can tell you, I had an old truck and the brakes went out on it. And we were about 6 or 7 miles from the racetrack with the shop. Then I put Paul, my mechanic, in the race car, and I'd go to the truck, and I'd put my hand out when I want him to stop us, and he'd stop us. He'd stop the truck and the car. And then we go to Hollywood Speedway with a tow bar, which was 30 miles from Hialeah, and run the race up there. And if we wrecked it, I had to leave it and go get borrowed somebody's trailer to get it back. But if we didn't wreck it, we'd haul butt to Hialeah, make time for the feature there, and try to run them both.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Well, that's the passion that's there. I mean, that's what makes Gary Balough. I mean, that's who he is.
Syracuse Mile. You had some really, I'm sure there's probably chapters in the book about the Syracuse Mile. But you're going to be at the Orange County Fair Speedway on Saturday night, signing autographs, talking to fans, and you're also going to bring along an old friend, the Batmobile. And there's a really interesting story around the Batmobile in terms of the ingenuity that you came up with to build that car. Can you speak a little bit about that?
A lot of the ingenuity, I mean, as far as the ingenuity, that was Kenny Weld and Don Brown. It built Indianapolis cars on the Aero and Tim Light. And of course it had a Ron Hutter motor. So there was a lot of people. And then I had Mario Rossi, their Tinnerton, who built my race motors for my late model program, and Eddie Labertone. And then I had all my pit crew there from prime time. That was my late model car that we were winning races all over the country at the time. So, I mean, we coordinated a lot of people. And the problem with that is they're all brilliant. So we got to the racetrack and we only got one practice. And, of course, Tim Light wanted to work on the Aero. He wanted to adjust the wing. Kenny wanted to adjust the bar. This guy wanted to adjust the shock. Hutter wanted to work on the motor. Trying to get them all together to where, we can't just change 15 things here. Because the problem we had there was we come off the trailer and we were really fast. And I was told to run one end at a time and not the other end fast, and I can't do that. I've never been able to do that because I got to run the whole lap to get the rhythm.
Okay.
And I went ahead and run the whole lap, and it was almost like the caution light was on. Like I was passing cars, and like, why ain't they going? You know what I mean?
You were so much faster than them.
2 seconds.
Wow.
And I couldn't figure out, like at the time, I said, and I kept on the radio, there's a caution light on. And what's wrong? No, there's no caution. Go. So I run about 10 laps, and I come in, and Kenny wouldn't even talk to me. I said, what's the matter with him? What's the problem? And he said, we're really fast. I said, how fast? He said, really fast. And I said, well, that's good. He said, yeah. And Kenny walked over. He said, yeah, it's good. He said, but we're out of here. That's me, we're out of here. He said, they come over and told us, put it on jack stands. You're done for the day.
What?
So we only got to practice 10 laps.
They allowed to do that?
Yeah, well, and then so rather than stay in there and just stand around doing nothing, we put cover on it and we put it on a trailer, and I'd rented a shop around the corner, and we went back to that shop. We took everything off of it, all the poly panels off of it, nut and bolted, wired everything, and made it really sanitary for the race. And then we come back to qualify, and we qualified. We sat on a pole. The 73 car sat outside front row that I'd won 3 times with Beavers. And we were 2 seconds quick. Then
That's incredible.
they weren't real happy with us. And then there was a lot of talk that, they were going to steal the car. They took it back to the shop.
But the car was legal.
Yeah. We flew the tech inspector out to Kansas City.
Before the race?
When we worked on the car before the race, and let him go through it here. Put it on stand, take anything off you want, whatever you want to do. And he went over and he measured it with a fine-tooth comb. And when he left there, he said the car was legal because there was nothing illegal about it. It was all the loopholes. It was like you had to do a minimum height of 50 inches with a roof. Well, we raised the roof, and we made the roof a wing.
And it slanted a little bit,
right? Well, it
right?
was a wing. It's all closed in underneath like a wing, and it's in the center of the car where it needed to be. Kenny Weld runs sprint cars. He knew where to position it.
Yeah.
And Don Brown and Tim Blight. Tim's an aerodynamist. So they knew where to get the ballast. And then
tunnels.
On the other side of it, if you look at it, it's got pods in the side with louvers, which controls the down counts on both sides, like an Indianapolis car. Don Brown knew how many cubic inches was in there, but would it need to be open.
That's incredible.
So what I hear is you had the right team around that car.
Oh my God!
Everybody brought something
but
that made that car
But that car is
fast.
going to be there at the track on Saturday night for fans to take a look
you
at.
ain't seen nothing
I
yet.
can't wait to see it.
Oh yeah, we restored. Chris gave us the opportunity to restore it last summer, and we got it restored. And we had a little issue with the motor that we bought because it's all nostalgia stuff.
Right.
And I just sent that out and
where was the car? Where did you find the car? Was it in somebody's garage?
No, it's in a museum.
Oh, okay.
But they had put it together, and it was just hanging. It was just it was terrible. It
had been modified a couple of times. After Gary raced it, they had modified it, and they stuck it in a museum, just however it was.
Just to look at it.
And Gary restored it completely to original condition, and as soon as we get that motor back, we're going to let Friesen hot lap that car.
Oh, right.
And it runs like it's supposed to run.
Really? Is it still fast?
Well, the thing is we want to. Everybody said, "Well, this day and age, that car would be fast," and I still believe it will be.
Really?
Because of the down counts on it,
Sure.
Because of the wing and the pods, and just the way the car is built.
Yeah.
So, with the motor we got a pretty good deal on the motor because we needed it because it's nostalgia parts. We're trying to keep this thing original. But then we had some problems that run hot, and the oil pressure wasn't right. And I said, we've got to take it out and see what's wrong. So we sent it to Illinois. So a good friend of mine has a motor shop, and it had a crack sewn in the wall, and they sleeved it, and we fixed that. And we fixed the oil pressure problems, and they went through it, and it should be here this morning. We're going to the shop after this, and we're going to clean the dry sump tank and the lines and get the car on the lift and wipe everything down so when the motor comes, we get the motor in it. Because I'd really like to make a lap with it Saturday night again.
It's interesting. We have coming on the air with us Dr. Gaston, who is with the Ortho Carolina. They work on all the drivers and the pit crews, and he's going to be coming on the air with us next week to talk about, what he's doing for the pit crew with their hands, because all the work they do. So
the injuries and so on and so forth.
And how they correct that and help them from not continuing with those injuries. So.
Gary and Chris, we talked a little bit about. I'm changing gears on you. I'm sorry, Taylor.
I know you got 2 minutes.
The Syracuse Mile and that track has been torn down. I mean, a lot of us racing fans have fond memories of visiting Syracuse, and you had some really tremendous racing successes there. So, what are your thoughts about that track? Shutting down.
I think it was a big mistake. I mean, there'll never be another Syracuse Mile, no matter what we do, unless we build a mile someplace.
Yeah.
And how are you going to do that and build a fairgrounds? And what they're putting there, they're everywhere. Amphitheaters and all that.
Yeah.
So why did we need more of those? We need more mile racetracks. And that was always a mystique of going to Syracuse, because we built cars to go there because of the aero, because it's so much faster. And it would take a little special car to go there, and that was like the Daytona 500.
It was the biggest race of the season.
In a modified race.
Yep.
And now that mystique is gone. Yeah, Oswego's still going to be a good race. It is still good racing, but it's not a mile.
It's not the Syracuse Mile.
It's not the Syracuse Mile.
Yeah,
and I'm telling you, back in the day, there'd be 200 cars there trying to make that race. It was incredible. We'd be outside in a line, and we'd be 15 long and about 20 deep.
And the grandstands were packed.
And the grandstands were always packed.
So why would they close a place where your grandstands are packed? That doesn't even make sense.
I'll tell you a quick story there about the grandstands being packed. We won there in 1980 with a Batmobile, and there was a lot of people angry over it. And after the race, they were booing up. I took the trophy. They said, they're not saying boo, they're saying Balough, And then one of the state cops said to me, he said, you're probably going to need a police escort out here. I said, no, I don't think so. It'll be all right. And I looked around. I could still hear him, but I said, maybe I do.
Well, we're going to just take a break here for a little sports, weather, traffic news.
Yeah, these guys don't go anywhere, though.
They're captive this morning, so no problem. We're going to be talking to Chris Larsen coming up, too, about what's going on at Orange County Speedway.
Big stuff going on there.
We saw lots of movement there and the track being redone. People are very excited. Even our own Amanda Dana, who's been named Orange County Tourism, head of tourism, couldn't happen to a better woman. And we just spoke the other day and said, we're on a mission to make that a destination for the county. So we're going to be talking more about Chris, about what's going on there, too. And we'll come back and have Gary Balough talk more about his book called Hot Shoe. So stay tuned.
Frank Truatt.
I'm singing in the rain, just singing in the rain.
WTBQ.
What the heck was that singing in the rain? Don't you dare play that this weekend.
We don't want any more rain.
I'm going to hurt you, Dan.
On Saturday night.
Nothing with the word rain.
Sure.
I don't want rain dancers. I don't want any of it. Don't talk. I don't want to see a drop.
I want to ask Chris Larsen a couple of questions.
Go, because I do too.
There's all sorts of activity going on at the Orange County Speedway. And I think, the major renovation right now is the track surface itself. Right. There's been a lot of work being done the last couple of weeks there. You want to speak to that, Chris?
Well, our strategy all along was let's rebuild the place from the inside out, make the show better, make the competition better, make the existing fans comfortable, upgrade the existing facilities what we can. So we raised the purses, which makes the competition better, brings in better drivers, and now we're giving them a better surface to put on a better show. So what we did last week was we flattened turns 1 and 2 and tried to restore the track more to its geometry of, say, the late 80s, or not late 80s, late 70s, early 80s.
Before my time, Taylor.
Yeah, sure.
And so we fixed the geometry. We have a little bit more to go that we'll do incrementally. We're going to bank turn 4 to equal the banking in turn 3. So we're hoping that it'll be more racier,
more
competitive through 1 and 2, and
I can't wait.
You'll be able to hammer down through 3 and 4 all the way to the checkered flag.
I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, and we relayed the surface. The place is full of clay, so we dug up a bunch of clay and screened it, and put a new surface on. We recompacted the subgrade, so it'll probably take us a couple of weeks to 2-3 races to get it really smooth and rubbered up the way we want it, but we got the alignment we want, and I think we're going to have a really fun racetrack.
How many people can you fit in there for spectators?
We could probably accommodate about 6,000 right now.
Yeah, and that includes the drive-in area,
includes the drive-in, the number of people in the pits, and the number of people seated.
You guys put some temporary bleachers in turn 4.
Right.
I hope they're not temporary because that's got to be a great place to watch a race. I can't wait to sit there.
So what happened is we rebuilt the half-covered grandstands, and we put seat backs in them. They're going to be really comfortable now. And in the process of doing that, we wanted to make sure we had enough seating because they would be closed temporarily. Right. So we put temporary stands in turn 4, as you said, and we got such great feedback from it. I went ahead and ordered double the number of grandstands. So the new grandstands that are coming there will be, twice as long, and they'll be up a little bit higher.
Oh, great!
For a better view.
That's going to be a great place to watch a race.
Hey, listen, folks out there, come on! I don't care where you're living, anywhere near. I mean, if you're within a couple of hours from here, this is the way to go.
We have a jewel in the area.
It's coming back bigger and stronger. It's going to be a destination place. I know you're thinking in the future of doing concerts there.
Yes, we've been talking to different. We've already been talking to different promoters and to Live Nation. We're looking at a different configuration that would utilize the entire pit area.
So you could do both, right?
And with that, we would have the capacity for a concert for like 30,000 people.
Can you imagine? I mean, you're talking some big names that'll come out for that. And right here, I mean, it's so much closer to the city for people who want to come up for concerts. And when you say destination, that fills up our restaurants, our hotels. Right. It's a win-win-win for everybody. And I get to go to a concert, which I love.
Well, that's the ultimate plan for the entire fairgrounds is to create an entertainment destination to give people, not to compete with the casino or with Legoland, but to complement them.
Well, that's a different crowd. Legoland's 2 to 12-year-olds.
But they need something to do on the second day.
And their parents want to do something too.
Right.
So here you go. And then you have, places around like Mountain Creek. They have people, they would love to go to a concert or go to a race there. Where else could they stay somewhere and within a half hour or so be at a place like Orange County Fair Speedway? I mean,
it's just a ball. Even if you're not a race fan, check it out because it is a ball.
Yeah, that's the plan, is to make the racetrack fun. Not just for a race fan, but for somebody that comes out for the night. Maybe their husband's a race fan or their girlfriend's a race fan. They have fun too because there'll be other things to do inside the what we're calling the Championship Plaza area.
Oh, I like that.
I can't wait for that.
So what kind of food?
And don't change the recipe on the popcorn either.
Exactly. We're getting to the important part, the food.
Well, to be honest with you, I think Maxwell does a great job.
They do.
I've been a fan of his food since his father had it. He does a good job. It'll get better too.
It's everything come together. We'll come back and have Gary Balough talk more about his book called Hot Shoe.
Frank Truatt, WTBQ.
We're our town 5 days a week for you. Special morning features local politicians, local news. With Frank and all his special guests all here at TBQ. So tell your friends and neighbors our town is here for you.
And welcome back to this incredible morning show. I'm telling you, I don't want it to end.
The conversation's off the air.
Yeah, you people are missing out. Let me just tell you.
I'm taking notes here, trying to capture everything.
So we have with us this morning, Jim LaPlante, our NASCAR reporter and co-host for today, and Dan Bolger.
Hi, everybody.
And Chris Larsen, Halmar Racing, and Orange County Fair Speedway. Keep that on your tuned in for the weekends because you're going to love going there. And we have the great Gary Balough here this morning. And we're talking everything racing and his history and his new book, Hot Shoe. I love it, A Checkered Past, my story.
That's a great nickname, Hot Shoe. That's
I know,
just
I
tremendous.
love it. I've never heard that before.
Me
That's
either.
such a fantastic name for the book. You will never forget it. And we have a local bookstore here, too. If you are not in the area this weekend, you want to get a copy of the book, I'm sure that Tom Roberts at E.O. Warwick Bookshop.
Sure.
He has a shop in Greenwood Lake, too. We'll get it for you. I'm sure you can get it online. Right? Do you have a website, Gary?
Yes, we're just a little behind because we're changing servers right now, but you'll be able to go to GaryBalough.com.
And that's
there'll be shirts and hats in the book.
All right, Balough, just so you know how to say. What does that come from? What is Balough? What's the?
That's Hungarian.
Oh.
Yeah. My family was all from the north. My dad grew up in Pennsylvania. He was a coal miner. And my mom lived in Cleveland. How that happened from Cleveland to Pennsylvania, I don't know. But
little chicken papacash and cabbage rolls.
And then my dad moved them all to Hialeah, and he became a fireman. And then from a fireman, he became a police officer, and he retired as a captain and as a police officer, and then, with Metro Dade County.
So how many generations for who was in Hungary last before they came here?
hit their parents, my
Really?
dad's parents.
So
yeah.
you're only third generation or second generation
third.
third generation American. Wow.
Yeah, mine as well.
Yeah, and what about your mom?
My mom's Irish. That's where I get
There
the
you go.
craziness from.
I love mutts.
My mom didn't take no prisoners.
There you go.
And that's the Irish part of me.
Yep.
That's why he talks so much.
Yeah.
Really? He talks so much?
Probably a large portion of your book, we were talking off air about some of the controversial or checkered things in your past. You want to speak a little bit?
Yeah,
to
like
that?
how did the drug thing come? Because
Yeah.
everybody I know is in the back of mind saying, when is he going to talk about that?
Yeah.
Because you're racing, that's your passion. And so how did you end up going from, racing to an issue with drugs?
Well, we raced up here. I raced and worked all my life to race. And my goal was to get to cup racing with NASCAR. And Bruce Griffin was a real good friend of mine. And way back in the day, he used to ride in the back of his truck to the races too. They owned Radiator Stores and Buddy Griffin and just hanging with him, all of them way back. Pee Wee wanted me to come. Bruce Griffin, Pee Wee Griffin, wanted me to come home and drive a Banjo Matthews car, cup car, and he kind of dangled that worm, and it worked. And I was driving Ferriola stuff, and I was driving Richard stuff, Marinelli's car, so I had pretty good rides up here. And then Ferrari wanted me to drive Benjamin's second car all the time with a sprint car, so I liked that, and so I had some good stuff really going on here. But I wanted the cup race. That was my whole deal. Get back to that, because I run asphalt 12 years before I ever sat in a dirt car. So I went home, and of course Pee Wee was involved in smuggling, and I didn't know at the time. But man, I seen all this and his boats and all this and his place, and wow.
And how old were you at that
time? In
time?
his race shop, I was probably 26.
Okay.
Somewhere right there, 24, 5, 6, somewhere, and. He flew me up in the Learjet to Banjos, and J.W. Hunt was involved in it also, who spent a lot of money in racing, and set me the seat and put the seat all in it. And I said, wow, I'm going to get to do this. And then Donnie Allison got bounced. I think he was driving for Banjo at the time. Well, Donnie Allison had way more credibility in a cup car than I did.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, he'd already raced cup cars and won a couple of races.
Yeah.
If you're going to compare Kerry Blue to Donnie Allison at that time, not going to happen. So Donnie got the ride, and I got shuffled. But once I got shuffled on that deal, we went to Pocono and we got hooked up. We bought a Bemco car, which was a really neat race car, and it was a Jerry McCarroll car. We took it back South Florida. I took it completely apart and redid it and went through it, and I drove it for Pee Wee. And then he bought Larry Deege's car, which is another Bemco car, and I raced for him a little bit. I couldn't get along with him, and I tested for Goodyears for years, and he kind of took my deal, and he went to do some running with a car and was testing and forgot the wheels, and called me up. He said, well, bring me my wheels. I need wheels. I didn't bring enough wheels. I said, I'm going to bring my car too, all right, to race. He said, I don't care what you do. And I brought it, and we broke down going up. I had to get somebody to come pick me up off the drum. Anyway, to make the story short, we got there late. And what they do is they let you race on the tires that you tested for 2 days. Well, they drew straws. They knew which set was the best. And, of course, I got the right straw. It might have been a little political, but I got the right straw. Well, I started in the back, and the bosses lead the race, and Anderson's right there with me. And I slipped underneath him when I did. Anderson went with him, and he run third. Well, he wasn't happy with me with that. I should have stayed behind him and blocked Anderson, I guess. I don't know. But I know that night we shut the elevator door in my face, and I said, I'm done. So I went back home and gave him the keys and gave him the hot rod back, the truck trailer, and I said, I'm out of here, I'm done. That's when I went to work for Billy Harvey and Castor and Ellswick, who were boat racers. They had a bunch of Pistone cars and stuff that I was familiar with. So I helped them set the chassis, and I tested them and got them going fast. And then Billy bought a late model car. He'd race it a little bit. You got to drive it. And he put me in it, and I'd win races with that. And it just went from there. And they were involved in smuggling marijuana, and it was one of them deals where you could
So there was only marijuana involved in
all
this?
marijuana. Yeah.
Oh God, that really is astounding now when we think about all the legalities now have
I know,
changed
it's crazy.
in so many states. And I just heard yesterday about the billions of dollars that the government is making on the taxes off of this.
Well, that's what they need to do
This
years
is
ago.
unbelievable.
But with that being said, then I got a chance to go out in the ocean and count pieces, bales, and didn't make $5,000, $6,000, $7,000. Well, I needed the money to pay my bills, because I wasn't making no money racing in the South, and that's how I got involved, And
How'd you get caught?
mouth, I really didn't get
Gee,
caught.
am I surprised to hear that?
It was a conspiracy, and it's just people talk and they say what they want to say to save their ass. And with that being said, it was a conspiracy, And,
What happened? I mean, you got convicted, obviously.
well, I got to drive Billy built us a cup car, the team,
Right.
and we got going pretty fast with it, Pistone cars, and then I bought MC Anderson's deal with Raymond Beadle, a drag racer, a good friend of mine with Blue Max. He's passed away now. And then Reggie Jackson got involved with us. So we had a pretty good deal going. And
Reggie
Old Milwaukee,
Jackson, baseball player?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
And then we had a pretty good deal going on with Old Milwaukee at the time. And I knew, my attorneys knew that I was a target. And I just didn't want to mess the Old Milwaukee
So they
deal
set you up as like a fall guy.
So I had the bail. I had the bail on the deal with the Cup deal, but I stayed with it. And at that point, we put Tim Richmond in the car. It's a good friend of mine. And then, of course, he runs so good that Hendrick hired him. We lost him. Then we hired Rusty Wallace, and Rusty won a championship.
Yeah, he wasn't too bad either,
Yeah,
Rusty.
not bad at all.
Just on the good side. So how
an
long
incredible
did you
story.
end up having to serve time?
I did 47 and a half months on it.
Oh, my
6-year
God.
sentence.
Oh, jeez.
The first
That has
time.
to change your whole...
Ruins everything. You
I
have no
mean,
idea. You have no idea.
I don't even like him being in a room for any length
Well,
of time by
it's-
myself.
Yeah, you couldn't do it, Taylor.
No.
Yeah, the thing is if you don't cooperate, and I had nothing for him. I stood on the fifth, and I went by myself, and I come home by myself, and didn't drag nobody in it with me. Nobody I worked for, or nobody that worked for me. My dad taught me to be better than that.
Yeah, sounds like.
And
Stand up, man.
And life moves on. I mean, those experiences, pay dividends as you move forward,
Sure
as we
they do.
grow older. And now
If
you're
you
working,
learn from them,
and now
yes.
you're working with some
look
outstanding.
who I get. Look who
Yeah,
I
he
got
gets
back
it
in me
from
now.
Bruce Larsen.
Absolutely, and that's where I was going.
This would never be. It wouldn't be for him.
Yeah, and now you're working with some really up and coming stars. I think number one, Stewart Friesen. Can you talk a little bit
my
about
God,
Stewart, his driving
that's my boy.
style?
That's my boy. I've been around Stewart since he was a little guy, and
Really?
I watched him race. I went to Merrittville with Pete McNell and them, and his granddad, Dad Friesen, used to take care of me up here like I was royal. You know what I mean? And just good people. And he called me up to the press box there one night, and he sat down. He made me a drink, and he said, "I want you to watch this kid." Okay. So he started a race, and it was shitbox cars, and excuse my language, but he started in the back, and he lapped the field. And I said to Stan, I said, that kid's bad. That kid's bad to the bone. I said, that's a keeper. He said, well, that's my grandson.
Wow.
I said, really? That was Stewie.
Yeah.
So I said, I knew right then. First time I watched him race a hobby car
That he
was a
had
real
it.
deal.
He had it.
Oh,
right?
you know the talent.
Yeah.
The thing about it is you can build. I thought that in my career I built some pretty nice hot rods and worked really hard on making myself better to give me the opportunity to win races and hire the right people and do the right thing and the right motors and this and this and this and that. And I found out that I've done that here in the last 5 or 6, 8 years. Built some pretty nice hot rods, the best. If you don't have a natural race driver in it, I don't care how good that car is. You got to have a natural.
Well, that's your
And
key.
Stewart Friesen has more natural than 10 race drivers.
Yeah.
But that's the key. People forget about that. It's not just the car. You got to have somebody driving that car.
Oh, yeah.
And the team behind it. as
Oh,
well, right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
It is a
Well,
team sport.
It's a total combination of everything.
Yeah.
But, the last thing hits the ground is tires, and that's a big deal. But somebody's got to turn the tires, and that's the race driver.
So it was that relationship with Stewart that connected you with Chris Larsen and Halmar Racing, or was it?
No, it was kind of more the other way around.
Okay.
So we brought Gary on when we went to Syracuse, and we put Dave Blaney in a car and ultimately Jimmy Horton in a car. And like I said, that's really when I started to know Gary. But I sat in the stands and I watched Syracuse and I watched Friesen, and I said to myself, oh boy, we were way behind. Right? Friesen was just like a lion stalking his prey.
Yeah, like he was a couple of weeks ago in the hard clay
great
open,
analogy.
Right? Yeah.
So I met Stewart then at the Eastern States 200, and we connected to sponsor his sprint car down at Charlotte just to get involved with him, and we spoke over the winter. And I was frankly surprised that he was accomplishing as much as he did with the with the arrangements he had. So we said, listen, how about we back you with with whatever you need here. And a lot of that Gary has been brought on to help us with that. It really, our dirt program has really taken off because of the NASCAR program. The detail that the dirt crew puts into a dirt car now, comes from our experience with the truck. And a lot of that, is, again, we're always trying to catch up with Gary's knowledge. And
good luck with that.
yeah, so the truck has moved forward, and on the asphalt, Gary's been there for Stewart, and then on the dirt side, Friesen's just in another zone this year.
But what a great combination to put all three of you together.
Well, what we say is that between everybody in the team right now, I think we've got 9, 10, or 11 Syracuse mile wins between Horton, Gary, and Friesen.
Wow.
And Stewart Friesen's a top 5 truck now.
Oh, without a doubt.
He's reached.
Well,
he's
we're
reached
knocking on the door. We're ready to win.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
We had a really good shot for Daytona, and we got crashed.
Yeah.
Kid running around there, rubbing a tire and wrecked half the field. Newman kid gathered us up too. But he's knocking on the door, buddy.
Yeah,
it's going to be
no doubt about
here
it.
soon.
And he's got the right attitude also. There's another part to that comes in,
Well, I'll tell you on the truck a lot because of Gary, right? The biggest thing I've seen with Stewart is that he's matured to be a very patient driver now. And a lot of that is, we have a great spotter in Andy Houston, and we got Gary in his ear, and we have a great, crew chief with Trip Bruce. So those three people have really brought Stewart, to a really high level of maturity, and he's competitive to start with, and now he's patient, and he's learned to be there at the end. And like Gary says, we're knocking at the door. Stewart will win a race with the truck this year.
Oh, there's no doubt about it.
So too.
And the late model. I mean, then they come to me at Christmas time, and because I've talked about late models here prior, and Chris said, Gary, you have to back it up. We don't need to do that. Back it up. I said, yeah, but it's seat time, boss, and there's a lot there to be learned, and there's some pretty good races to race with some pretty good people that gives you notoriety, and it's not a bad deal.
Yeah.
It's money, it's everything's cost. But he said to me, Christmas, I want you to build us a hot rod. I said, well, time-wise, we can't do what we need to do to build one, but I know I can put a pretty good deal together with the right people. So I got with Justin Ortel, and these are KBM cars that Kyle Busch raced. So they're the best cars out there with the best motors and the best people around it. And we went to the first race, run second, and should have won it. But how do you do that?
Yeah, that's amazing.
Where's your shop? When you got a driver like Stewart Friesen, you can make that happen.
Where's your shop located? I'm sorry.
The shop is in Illinois.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So is there sponsors, people out there interested in sponsoring? Is that still open?
We go back and forth. We look for sponsors on the NASCAR truck. To tell you the truth, the late model, we're a little selfish. We want to keep that to ourselves.
But I mean, what about the track itself? How about sponsors for that?
Ultimately, we're working out a whole plan of video advertising, static advertising, sponsorship opportunities.
Okay.
This year, we're really kind of, we got involved late, so we're more status quo than not.
Right.
But the big plans are really to get into next year, which is the 100th year anniversary of the track anyway. So
100 years.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I think it's the longest running dirt track in the United States, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of history here locally as well.
It's going to be the oldest and the best. That's the plan.
By the time he gets done with it, it'll be premier.
Oh, there's no doubt about it.
Wii Sport's pretty nice. look out.
I agree with you because and the feeling of optimism at that track now for years it was, I don't want to say dormant, but it was almost depressing.
Oh my God!
The
No, it was more than
grandstands weren't filled. There wasn't a lot of excitement generated.
Yeah, even with the fair, people didn't want to go there.
Yeah.
Oh, the fair is going to be amazing.
I know. So that we're looking forward to that because at one time it was great, and then it was like it's for the last number of years. People were calling us up and saying, "Where else can we go?"
Yeah.
So we're so happy to say now you can go back to the Orange County Fair Speedway and have a ball there 12 months a year.
Yeah, and if you're a race fan, you got to put Chris Larsen in your will because this is
no
just
doubt about
really
it.
great stuff.
We were like jumping up and down here.
We sure were here. Gary, some other racers that you were working with Halmar, there's a young lady from New Paltz named Allison Rickey who's won some races in Orange County and has got a bright future ahead. Can you tell us a little bit about Allison and what some of the things that you're doing with her?
We talk about naturals. Either you're not or you are. She's a natural. Besides, she's a beautiful little girl. And I keep telling Chris we need to get her under contract. And I'd like to put her in a late model car.
Really?
It can get her out of the dirt car to get her into some asphalt stuff. Because, like Stewart told me, the truck helped him drive the late model car. But if we'd have done a late model car before the truck would have been an easier deal. It wouldn't have cost us as much to race with Billy Hess, and then we got involved with Tommy Bobble. It was a bad deal. We would have known more about it. What he needed, you understand?
We need another woman in racing too.
Yeah,
I would love to see.
Allie's the real deal, and obviously with her father and her grandfather helping her.
There's a big history in the Rickey family.
Yeah, we got to bring her on the air.
Yeah, we'll talk to her.
Definitely.
She does a great interview, and she's just a great person.
Yeah.
Allison raises over $10,000 every year for Miles of Hope.
Oh, good for her. Yeah, we're involved with them too.
We paint her car pink, and we put the pink ribbon on it, and she raises like $10,000.
Oh, good for her.
Selling T-shirts and donations. She's just an incredible kid.
We'd love to be on top of that.
Very bright future too, as well.
Yeah. Right? And Danica brought awareness to the sport, saying women can drive. I'm never enamored of her or her driving or her attitude, and it's nice to hear because I've spoken about it with Jim. Here you have somebody who really is the one the girls should be looking up to.
Yeah, Allison is definitely a role model. She, again, like Gary said, she's very talented and she knows she's just a good person. And like I said, her family is great. And it's really for me, it's really a pleasure to see. Her grandfather and her father and her mom are there, and her brother is there. Her uncle Mike is there.
It's important to support.
Yeah,
from
it's
the
nice to
family.
see how they all support her and work with her and everything.
Yeah, it's certainly a growing fan base that she's carrying now at the track on Saturday nights as well.
And the thing with Allison knows her hot rod. She knows her race car.
Yeah.
She works on her race car.
How did she know? Did her grandfather and father teach her?
Yeah, she grew up with them doing all that. She'll pull the motor out of the car. I mean, she'll put the motor back in the car. She'll work on it. She knows how to work on it.
Well, drivers need to know the engines because they're the ones that are going to tell the crew chief what's going on.
That's a good point. I mean, you really do have to have knowledge of these cars, how they're handling, what needs to be done.
She just doesn't show up with a helmet in her hand. Yeah. She's not one of them kids that are gifted that, daddy bought them everything, and, she gets to ride in it. No way. She works on them.
And that's a lot of it, right? The attitude, the willingness,
it's a big part of it.
It's a formula.
Yeah.
And
it's like Stewart builds his stuff. Stewart works on his stuff. Brett Hearn works on his stuff. Bobby Allison worked on his stuff. I mean, I'm going down to Rusty Wallace, Mark Martin. The people that worked on their cars, understood their cars, were better racers.
Yeah. It's always amazing to me the amount of knowledge that the drivers have of the cars themselves.
All right, so we are, believe it or not, we're running out of time. We have to be here for the day. We're going to take everybody's show over today. There's so much here. And this man, he has incredible knowledge, Gary Balough, about racing, about engines, about people. Sure. It's just an incredible combination. You're going to stay with us till the end of the show, though, right?
Sure.
All right, terrific. So
I know fun.
Good, because that's a key thing for us. We want fun.
Frank Truatt, WTBQ.
And good morning again. For people out there who are wondering where Frank is this morning, he's a little or a lot under the weather. Because for him to miss this show,
I know.
Oh, I am telling you, he is miserable. I think he's worse off now.
He's sick if he's not here.
Definitely.
I think this is the second day he's ever missed in 5 years. That's how sick he is. And to miss a show about racing, forget it. I mean, it's a sin, I think. So I'm here, obviously, with Jim LaPlante, our NASCAR reporter and co-host for Thursday, Dan Bulger, and Chris Larsen, Orange County Fair Speedway genius, who's bringing it all back to us, thank
He's
God.
our hero.
And Gary Balough, the infamous Gary Balough, wrote a great book called Hot Shoe. Checkered Past, my story, has been telling us some amazing stories about his life, a lot more to come. And you can go and meet Gary this weekend at the Orange County Fair Speedway on Saturday. I think the doors open around 5:15, and he'll be signing his books. There's going to be probably over 40, 50 drivers there for you to meet and sign autographs. There's going to be nostalgia cars because it's nostalgia night. The Batmobile will be there. So lots of great stuff happening. What gave you the idea for the Batmobile?
Originally?
Originally.
Well, you know, I had went back home. Like I told you, to drive a cup car for Bruce Griffin, and that kind of fell apart, and I got hooked up with Billy Harvey and take care of their race program, and he built some late model cars. They were Dravy cars and Hal cars, and we won races with that, and I got Kenny Wald involved in some of that, and Kenny was always my hero. When I raced up here, he started building cars, and I fell apart with the Ferriolas over. Welldale went to work for Statewide for George Smith, who had Weld cars, and then Tony said, "It's time for you to come home, boy," and he showed me a Grant King car that he had built for me, and I went back with them, and so Kenny and I were real good friends, and Kenny come to some of the asphalt races, and in 1980 we won like 6. We tested, and we won like 6 nights in a row, and to go to Speed Week at New Smyrna World Series of Stock Car Racing and win 2 maybe in 9 nights is pretty good, but we'd won 6 in a row, and
that's
the 7th night I wasn't going to be beaten.
Has anybody ever beat that record?
No.
I don't think so.
Well, I did. I beat it. I won 8 out of 9.
Oh, my gosh.
You know, with the Turbo Trucker car, but Hamke car. But Kenny was there, and we got talking that night about building a car. He had plans for building a car, and we got looking at back and forth, and I had enough money to support it and back it, and I had some backers that would help me with it. And I said, let's do it. He said, I'll build you a car that you can drive at 85% and lap the field. And I thought about that for a minute. I said, 85%? He said, Billy, everything you drive 110%. He said, when you're 110%, you run into a lot of stuff. He said, when you run at 85%, you miss it all. I said, wow, 85% and lap the field. He said, yeah. Kenny was pretty good about what he said he was going to do. And he built it, you know, and the deal was on, and that night I broke my neck in New Smyrna.
Oh, how'd you do that?
Well, I got in a deal with Trickle and trying to get by him, and you know, we had put a lot of rear spoiler on the cars.
And you don't have the type of equipment that
the Hans device wasn't created then, right?
No, we didn't have no Hanses, and we open face helmets, and the seats weren't like they are now, and then radios weren't as good. I mean, no spotters, and it was. He came down and he run me up, and he come down and run me up, and I wasn't going to be beat. I won 6 in a row, and I was on my way for 7. And when he came down, I got into his left foot. I went straight in and knocked the motor out of it and broke my neck. There's a picture of the car here in my book, and there's a story about it. And so I was out of racing for about 6 months. And could I race again? I had Dr. Virgin. He was a real good doctor for the Miami Dolphins. Sports doctor. The whole time he told me, he said, it's up to you. He said, you want to race again? Race again. He said, where it was broke, his scalp's built up, it's going to be stronger. So I'm in. So, I remember Kenny coming to the hospital the next day and saying, well, I guess we're not going to do this. And I said, absolutely not. We're going to do it. If I can't drive it, Bobby Owl can drive it. Wolf King can drive it. You can drive it. I said, there's a lot of really good race drivers out there. We're going to race. So we continued on to build it, and I got well enough to drive it, you know. So that was pretty cool that we went through all that and still won, you know.
Yeah, that's awesome. I would imagine that's probably the worst injury that you've had racing. I mean, what are some of the other injuries you've had?
I broke most of my ribs. I broke my sternum. I broke my tailbone. I broke my left leg. I broke my foot.
The doctors love you.
I broke my neck. I broke my collarbone. I've had probably 9 concussions.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, so.
That's why Junior stopped racing.
And you remember everything.
Yeah,
your memory is just
my
absolutely
memory's
outstanding.
amazing. My long term. I can't tell you where I parked the truck though.
It doesn't matter. More important to be long term.
Yeah.
You know, it's just been a fantastic morning with you. I
you.
wish we had days to do this.
Yeah,
There's
me
so
too.
he's so full of such incredible
Yeah, it's great
history.
stuff.
I'm so glad there's a book out. We're going to go to our history of the week and birthdays of the day, so you'll stick with us. But I want to tell everybody, come out for Nostalgia Night. It's this Saturday evening. Go to the website, Orange County Fair Speedway, and find out where they're going to be at the Speedway, but I'm sure you'll find your way. Hot Shoe, A Checkered Past, My Story by Gary Balough. This is an incredible story, not only about racing, but about fortitude and perseverance and passion and knowledge. I mean, you have to have knowledge of cars in order to drive them. So this is something I think it should be on everybody's table. I don't care if you're a race car fan or not.
Yeah, I can't wait
because
to
this
read
is
it.
a human being story that has persevered through so much. It's incredible to come out on top. And Chris Larsen, can't thank you enough for coming
Yeah, you're in the
as
will,
well.
Chris.
He has nothing in the will, by the way. Just want
That's
to
the
mention
bad
that.
news. There's nothing in it, but you're in it.
Chris Larsen, who's making Orange County Fair Speedway a destination place for Orange County and for the tri-state area.
For sure.
So make sure you go out there and support it. Everybody's been complaining to us for a couple of years now about Orange County Fairgrounds, and so here we go, folks. Come on out. Well,
Good stuff.
I want to just again thank our guest for today. It was a fabulous show. I'm actually going to put this one up because we need people to re-listen to it.
I can't believe the 2 hours is
I
up
know.
already.
Can you believe 2 hours went by already?
Jeez.
See, I always say it's
we need 2 more.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
always say it's the most fun you can have with your clothes on.
That's great.
And so I want to thank again Chris Larsen, Orange County Fair Speedway. Thanks so much.
Thanks,
Not only for coming in, but for creating something we need badly
Yeah.
here. And Gary Balough, what do we say? It's just an honor to be with you today.
Thank you.
And
It's an
I've
honor to
learned,
be here.
I've learned so much today.
Yeah, I can't wait to read his book.
I'm like a little kid listening to it because it's just amazing
Yeah.
history. It
Yeah,
really
the stories
is.
are
We're going
great.
to have Gary on the next time he comes again. So
You know, the best race night, I think, in Middletown, New York, is Nostalgia Night, and that's
Yeah.
Saturday night.
let's make it happen,
That
folks.
in the
Get
Eastern
out there.
States, and now what he's doing to the racetrack,
Oh, it's
Middletown's going to be
amazing.
the deal again, man.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm fired up. For
We're
sure.
on the map, baby.
That sounds good. Gary, who's your favorite NASCAR driver out there? Do you have one that you follow?
Oh, it's Cal Busch.
Kyle Busch. How about
There's
that?
not a better race driver anywhere.
He's a
than
wheel
Cal
man,
Busch.
that's for sure.
sure.
Yep.
Well, he's winning, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
So everybody make it a great day. Stay tuned for the Three Amigos coming up, and we'll see you tomorrow morning on the morning show. Ciao. 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 Morning show.